Coming up in FutureBuild, the home of innovation. Gary attempts to warm his hands by a fire. Joe gets an impromptu driving lesson. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the warmest of them all? We get trapped inside a solar roof. And Joe explains why he's wearing a green t-shirt.
We've had an absolutely brilliant first day down here at FutureBuild in London, and in this video we're just going to have a quick look at some of the great products that we've found so far on this fascinating journey. As always, we want to know what you think, so please leave any of your thoughts or questions in the comments section below. Over to Gary.
Regardless how we hit home in the future, we still like the look of a traditional fireplace. And here we have Evonicfires, and that's exactly what we've got here. What we're looking at there is actually the light pattern. It isn't generating any heat. The heat is just up here. So therefore I can change the effect and therefore the mood within that room by simply pressing a button on the remote control. There are many settings that we can go through here, but of course I'm sure you're thinking it must have an app, and it does have an app. And within that app, you can actually download new settings to change the room and the mood, say, of the living area in which you're in. We also have the ability to change the heat from here, so we can go through those heat settings as well. But it's all about that focal point, isn't it? I would suggest that this is considerably better than the electric fire that your nan possibly had back in the day that she wheeled out during those colder months. And you certainly knew when it was turned on, because if nothing else, you could smell the fact the electric heater was on. If we're moving to electric heating in the future, I think this would be a beautiful way to start.
Now there are some challenges to heating your home up with electricity, and of course we've got ground source heat pumps, and air source heat pumps are a fantastic option. But of course, perhaps when we've just got out of the shower or out of the bath, we really want that instant feeling of warmth and comfort. And I can tell you right now, standing next to these mirrored panels and this heater panel from Jigsaw, I can honestly tell you the heat coming off here is fantastic. They're 800 watts, so they're not using an awful lot of electricity, but they're emitting instant radiant heat, which means that the air between me and the panel isn't getting heated up. It's just hitting me directly and giving me that source of comforting instant heat. It's really controllable via an app or manual control, and that means that you can limit the amount of electricity that you're using. It means that you can control the heating on a room by room basis. All things considered, these panel heaters from Jigsaw are an absolute winner.
As we make homes more airtight with the use of vapor barriers and lots of insulation to improve energy efficiency, a question we get asked a lot about electricians is when it comes to fitting things like downlights and electrical back boxes into insulation. And one of the biggest challenges when you have to break the vapor barrier. Now we've been onto sites and we've seen people using duct tape and all sorts of things around existing metal boxes. So we thought this product from Isocell is a step in the right direction. So what we've got here is a pre-formed tray that's available either the solid version I've got here, or you can have it fabricated with grommets to bring cable entries in, and it's got a self-adhesive backing that you can peel, stick into the insulation, and then either bring in a plasterboard box mounted through the front substrate into here, and then you're not going to break that vapor barrier and keep that in all-important airtight seal.
As you catch me tucking into this delicious strawberry sweet, if you look behind me, I think you can see Joe looking at something called plumbing.
Now this one is really interesting because this is the Sunamp Thermino range, and what this is it's a way of storing heat for your water system that effectively removes the need to store the water itself. So in the traditional storage heater tankers we've got down here, that would be full of hot water, and that hot water would have to stay in there for a long time. But this has instead inside here, it's filled up with a special material that experiences a phase change. And what that means, it acts a lot like this little clever device here. So this is a hand warmer, you may have seen these. Stored inside that little piece of metal there is some kinetic energy, and when we click that, what that does is it releases that energy and starts to change the state of that material inside there, and that starts to give off the heat in the form of heat energy that was stored inside there in the form of kinetic energy. Now inside here, this would be filled up with a similar material, and what that does is when you pass your heated water through there, perhaps from a boiler, or perhaps you're getting your heat from something like a heat pump, or even from the immersion heater element that's inside there, it goes through that phase change and it stores that heat inside until such a time as you start drawing the water off, say, for your shower. then what it does as the water passes through the heat exchange in there, it starts to suck that heat out, taking it to where it's needed and changing the state of that material back to its original form. It's a really, really clever way of storing heat energy without having to store a load of water. And as you can see, compared with the typical traditional storage heater tank, we've got a real small footprint for this. It's taking up much less space, which makes it a much more effective option for your property.
Oh, we're done with all that plumbing and back to an area we're comfortable with. We're here with this SynSynk inverter, but it's not just an inverter. It's a bi-directional inverter that's capable obviously taking that sun from the PV panels and obviously sending it back to the grid, or as we really want to be doing, using our own homes. But if you've got the option now to couple it with a battery system as well, which is the standout feature of this inverter. But it goes further. Could this possibly be the Swiss Army knife of inverter systems? Because not only will it charge the batteries, put power back to the grid, it will also function to divert it to our water heating system as well. Now, we've seen in the past lots of individual systems that will do that together, so you end up putting lots of different things and trying to get them to work together. This all works in one box. Now, you may not have heard of SynSynk before, but in South Africa this brand is huge and they're now in the UK. So if you are coming along to the show, make sure you check out this stand.
Next we're looking at GSE Integration.
Gaz, if I can just stop you there, technically it's Integration.
Okay, thank you for that, Joe. So what we're talking about is an in-roof system that means that we don't need those roofing tiles. So think of the cost. We've got to obviously make, store and install those tiles, or can we remove that part of the process and have a plate that fits any type of solar PV panel? That's correct. Any size can be fitted into the in-roof system, meaning that we aren't wasting time. Now, if you think about traditionally how we fit our solar PV, maybe with a strut attached to the roof where the tiles are hidden by the new panels, there's lots of issues there to consider. The additional weight added to the roof, as well as the habitat you've created behind it for all those squirrels and pigeons, which you don't have in this system, because the actual solar PV becomes the roof rather than having that and the tiles. So not only are we saving money, we're saving time as we generate our electricity from our roof.
There's one thing that's great about coming to a trade show, it's finding those new innovations, and I think I found one from Austria. Now, everyone knows me, I'm a big fan of foam bananas, but the Austrians have taken it to another level with this chocolate-coated banana.
Now, this product takes us out of our comfort zone a little bit here at eFIXX because it's not electrical. This is an innovation that helps us to insulate our homes. It's the Q-Bot. And the idea is that if you've got a suspended wooden floor, like you find in very old houses that were built perhaps in the 50s and the 60s, obviously an awful lot of cold air blows up between the planks of the flooring, and that reduces the energy efficiency of your home. Now, this device can be used with minimum disruption to a property. Basically, a big hole gets cut in the floor, the robot gets put underneath here, and then it's driven around using an Xbox controller, which is absolutely brilliant, obviously, for today's modern gaming generation. So using the simple controls on here, you can go forwards, backwards, and you can turn it from side to side. And then when you've got the Q-Bot into the right position, you're able to then trigger the spray nozzle. So you can get that into the correct position. And then when you're ready to do the spraying, simply hit the little start button and you get that spray pattern onto the underside of the floorboards, which is absolute genius. So once that comes out and it's dried, it's kind of like an epoxy resin. There's two different materials get sprayed in through these pipes here, and when it's set and hardened, you can see it turns into this very dense foam material, which is going to add brilliant insulation properties to the underside of your floorboards there, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's really good. Obviously there's some challenges to using this because this is going to be underneath the floorboards. You're going to be nice and safe above the floorboards, so you're not going to be under there in that dangerous area. And so there's cameras mounted on here that you can then watch on a separate screen, which then allow you to drive it around, get it into the right position, and it will even measure the depth of thickness of the foam after it's been sprayed on and it's gone off, to make sure that you've achieved the correct thickness to maintain the heating element of the property. I think this is absolutely brilliant, and it really nicely summarises what we're trying to do here at eFIXX Energy. We're not just about electrical things, we're not just about plumbing, we're not just about solar panels and renewables, we're looking at every area of the energy sector, including this fantastic product. So please make sure that you head over to eFIXX Energy, make sure that you're subscribed, make sure that you're watching the content there. There's lots more going to be piling up, so we'd really appreciate a subscription over on that channel. All that remains in this video is to say thank you very much for watching.